for all the support for Ukraine in this country, for all the applause in the House of Commons, very moving, for the Ukrainian ambassador in the cockpit of the nation yesterday. As these cost of living increases bite, it does mean that politicians here have got decisions to make about whether or not these harsh sanctions can be continued, right?
Yes, I think so. And the public as well, I think, need to realise that this is a two-way street and that they will suffer economically as a consequence. Now, you can understand when the images are coming out of Ukraine, the desire on the part of the British public to impose this economic stranglehold on Russia and Vladimir Putin's regime. But the difficulty with that is when you stop products leaving Russia or sending products to Russia, you're impacting UK industry, all kinds of sectors, from fashion to cosmetics, the car manufacturing, electronics. All of these companies are involved in sending products to Russia and, of course, taking raw products and components from Russia to help with the manufacture of these particular products as well. They can't get that. The prices go up. The price then that anyone in the UK is paying for these services and products is going to skyrocket too.
You know, many of us have the impression, even those of us who didn't live during the Cold War, that Russia is just an economy of oil and gas and it's a very backward and unsophisticated economy. Let me tell you, I've lived in the former Soviet Union a lot. It's where I cut my journalistic teeth. There has been massive Western investment. There has been massive investment by Russian entrepreneurs. This is now a major market for Western consumer goods. This is now a major exporter, not just of commodities, foodstuffs, as you say, but other things as well that we need. For me, Mark, the really amazing thing in the last 24 hours in terms of the economics, not the war and the humanitarian crisis, which you cover so ably, if I may say so, the really big thing is the fact that some of the world's biggest shipping lines are now saying they won't touch freight going into or out of Russia. Maersk, MSC, Ocean Network Express, these are the red blood cells of the global economy bloodstream. The fact that this is going to have a massive economic impact.
There's no doubt about it. And clearly, goods going into Russia is going to put a very difficult stranglehold on that country in receiving the vital supplies that it needs. But taking very vitally important products out of Russia to the West is going to be impacted very significantly as well. It is the world's biggest supplier of wheat. We can't tell you how many industries in the West rely on that wheat for their products. Where are they going to get the wheat if they can't get it bulk carried around the world, as so much of the vital products that the world relies on are carried by sea? And if these massive shipping companies are going to refuse to do business in the meantime with Russia, it's going to be very difficult. I wanted to talk about the aviation industry as well. A very good friend of mine who works in the aviation industry said that it's going to have an enormous impact on them as well, because at the moment, in terms of their fuel costs, they hedge, they bulk well in advance, months in advance, but eventually that's going to run out. They're going to have to renegotiate at a time when fuel prices are rising anyway. Add to that the price of the conflict and what that is doing to the price of fuel, and then add into that the fact that they're having to reroute. They can't go through Russia.
The journeys will be longer.
Yes, so they would go through Russia.
It's a country that spans 11 time zones.
Exactly. You would, if you were flying from the UK, for instance, to head to the likes of Beijing or Hong Kong, you are going to be routing through Russia. You can't do that anymore. You're taking a lower level route. You're going to be paying more in fuel prices. So that, added to the fact that fuel prices are going up, then the cost to the airlines is going to be significantly increased at a time when they're coming out of COVID and trying to rebuild the number of passengers who are flying again. And, of course, ultimately, the consumer, the passenger, is going to have to pay for that in higher airfares.
You know, Mark, we'll continue, won't we, on GB News, not least through your skill to report on this war, the military conflagration, the humanitarian aspects, but we must also talk about the economic and financial implications. It's part and parcel of the story. and I really appreciate your input. Thank you. Mark White there, GB News Home and Security Editor. This is On the Money with me, Liam Halligan.